Square Enix and good decision making are two things that don't seem to go together too often, and today is unfortunately no exception. It seems like there has just been a string of bad news coming from Square lately. Square Enix, please give me something good to wake up and report, because lately that has not been happening. Though you'll want to hit that subscribe button as I report all Square Enix news, both the good and the bad. Today Square Enix has announced they're selling pretty much their entire Western division, IPs included. Yes, that includes Deus Ex, Tomb Raider, and a whole bunch of others. They sold them to company Embracer for the price of $300 million, which includes both the studios and the IPs. $300 million for Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, which numbers around 1,100 employees worldwide, including IPs like Deus Ex, Tomb Raider, Thief, Legacy of Kain, is kind of on the cheap side as it is, though they will continue to publish some Western IPs such as Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange. But still, the fact remains that this is still really cheap. Back in February, Embracer spent $1.3 billion to acquire Gearbox. So to get 3 AAA studios, including beloved IPs like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, all for like $300 million? Really suggests to me that they just wanted to get rid of these studios. But I think there's a deeper reason for it that we'll be going into. But I already know what so many of you are thinking. Night Sky Prince, I really don't care about Square Enix's Western division. Hey, I completely understand. I'm more into their Japanese IPs by and far. But it's when you find out the reason that they did it that you might be a little bit more upset. It's so that they could, quote, move forward with investments in the fields including blockchain, AI, and cloud. That's right, they sold Tomb Raider for the Bored Ape, with the report saying, quote, the transaction will assist the company in adapting to the changes underway in the global business environment by establishing a more efficient allocation of resources, which will enhance the corporate value by accelerating growth in the company's core businesses in the digital entertainment domain. In addition, the transaction enables the launch of new businesses by moving forward with investment in the field including blockchain, AI, and the cloud. The move is based on the policy of business structure optimization that the company set forth under the medium-term business strategy unveiled on May 13th, 2021. So basically, they sold off almost their entire Western division at a price that is definitely undervalued, also that they could pursue endeavors that consumers don't want, like blockchain technology. Y'all must have been really mad about Avengers, huh? Square did lose approximately $48 million on Avengers. They tried to turn things around with Guardians of the Galaxy, a game that was received very well. In fact, many people said it was a surprisingly fantastic game. They poured a lot of marketing budget into it, but unfortunately, Guardians of the Galaxy also bombed for them as well. And a large part of that is probably the stigma that Avengers left on that game, leaving it to have to suffer for the sins of the father, so to speak. This decision is incredibly puzzling. I really do love the creatives at Square. However, the company itself is always an up and down situation. There just seems to be a repeated string of bad news over and over and over, all due to these decisions that are very difficult for me to be able to wrap my head around. Selling 3 AAA studios and IPs for so cheap, and then investing it on something that isn't even proven yet. When you look at the numbers, things make a little bit more sense. In 2021, Eidos Interactive generated its highest revenue in 3 years, which put them at a lovely profit margin of 0.65. That means that at record performance, Eidos was just breaking even. Crystal Dynamics also suffering a similar fate, with its highest revenue generated being only a profit margin of 3.6%. All this is to say, these Western studios weren't making any money. In fact, they were struggling just to break even. And then you have years like when Avengers released, where you have catastrophic losses. And while selling these studios does make sense. Using that to make room for more blockchain-based businesses doesn't. So is there a silver lining in all of this? We can only hope now that since their main moneymaker is their Japanese division, as that's pretty much all that's left, hopefully means we'll see an increase in focus and effort, quality and quantity in those games. But it doesn't seem like that's the agenda. This is really about pushing more blockchain and more NFTs, and more things that consumers don't want. It's literally the opposite of what Square's image needs right now. Instead of looking more pro-consumer and focusing on their games, they are continuing to focus on something that the vast majority of consumers have said that they don't want and have absolutely no interest in. Square, I don't know what else to say other than these new endeavors aren't going to bring you new customers, it's only going to push your existing customers away. But with all that said and done, I can't believe they sold Gex. Shout out to Midnight Sapphire and the rest of the Ultima community.
まどろみ差し込む現実赤く染まる